Sometimes the demold is difficult, but it's definitely worth it, hopefully, in the end. Well, hello again. Welcome back to House of Papillons. Today we're going to work on a box that looks a lot like this. I bought this, I don't know, a couple years ago on Amazon, the mold, and the lid just didn't fit right. I worked on taking some of it down and shaving some of it down, and I even made a separate bottom for it to try and make it fit, but it was just so difficult. And finally, with the very crude working on it, I was able to make it fit. But I bought another mold on, I want to say, Temu, and hopefully we can make this one work. So unfortunately, I don't have video, but I did the very top of the box with glitter from Michaels. I think the color was called Peacock. And now I'm turning it upside down. I didn't do the whole lid, just the very, very top of it with some clear resin and glitter. And I'm turning it inside out because I want to take a brush and brush some mica powder on it. Now, this is non-sink fairy powder from Into Resin, and I chose the greenish blue color. They don't mark the colors, but there's definitely a difference when you see all the containers together. This was the sort of green blue color, and I'm working on painting this on with a brush. Now, when you paint mica powders onto anything, you'll see in upcoming videos that I have of doing different colors of mica powders on the same mold. These silicone molds, they really accept these mica powders really well. They're really easy to paint on, and the very first thing that touches the mold is the color that you're going to see when you pour the resin. And like I said, in an upcoming video, I have a bowl that I did of multiple colors, and you'll be able to see how that works. It's really interesting the way that it works. But this is a little bit time consuming. The tiny bottles of mica powder are, well, I just said they're tiny. But a little bit goes a really, really long way. So don't be intimidated, that you pay for all of this mica powder and then you get it in its tiny little bottle, because you will be able to do a myriad of projects with each little tiny bottle. I think there was a set of 6 colors in this kit that I bought from Into Resin. And you'll see in the end, this really turned out beautiful. So painting the mica powders on, yeah, it's a little bit time consuming, but it's worth it. It's not that much time for the effect that you get. So I find it kind of relaxing. It's kind of no-brain painting because I'm putting it everywhere on this. I'm even going to do the top. Excuse my hand from shaking, by the way. I have carpal tunnel syndrome, and on any given day, I can not feel some of my fingers. Do any of you suffer from carpal tunnel? Let me know in the comments and what you do for it. Like I said, any given day, you just never know how badly my hand will shake. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's been an interesting journey, especially when you use a mouse a lot for work. So, like I said, I'm just working hard to get this everywhere. And if I miss any spots, that's going to reflect in the finished product. So I'm just carefully really going through each and every nook and cranny of this mold to make sure that I get every single piece. Now, a lot of times when you pour mica powders, especially if they're chameleons and things, they tell you to pour black. We're actually not going to pour black. We're going to pour like an aqua blue in here. I don't want this to be, I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it. I don't want it to be an intense mica powder look. I want this mica powder to complement the pigment paste that I'm going to use to do the main pour. So I want the mica powder to basically sheen to the finished product, or finished project, I should say. So I am doing both the inside of the mold and what will be the outside of the mold, which is why I turned it inside out. It's a little bit calming and therapeutic to do this painting because, like I said, it's a no-brain painting. You don't really have to think about it. You can watch TV or watch other videos or, do all kinds of things while you're trying to accomplish this part of the project. So it makes it, and it's just pretty to look at. It's super fun. These fairy powders and all the things. I love things that are sort of iridescent. I love opal. Opals are my birthstone, and I just love them. I'm constantly trying to figure out ways to do an opal look in projects that I do. There are plenty of videos of other artists who have accomplished a pretty close to an opal look. And although I've never worked on making an actual opal stone, I've come pretty darn close to it by accident. Not setting out to do, an opal stone. But in the end, sometimes they look like opals, and I love that. It's right up my alley. So, hopefully you're enjoying watching this. It's fun. It's just plain old fun. If this is something that you like to do, this is not by any stretch of the imagination a difficult project. This is something that I would think that I wouldn't do it as my very first resin project. I mean, I would do some things that are a little more simple, but this kind of technique you certainly could do as maybe your next project up from beginner. Um, you might call it intermediate because I did 2 different pours and I used glitter and all the things, but this is a very, very simple technique. It's something very simple that packs a lot of punch. And people will be amazed by your talents if you were to show them this. But I ended up absolutely loving it. Sometimes the simpler things or the more simple finishes and things are, just what you need, and it's just enough to dazzle, and just bring your project to life. So it's a lot of fun. Tell me some of the kinds of pigments that you like to use. I'd like to try and have a dialogue on my channel and, exchange ideas, exchange things, especially at the end of this video. You're going to see I can give it away. The jar fits when it's demolded. The lid fits on the jar. But for anybody who is new to resin art, things that are in two pieces that are supposed to go together, you can, right out of the mold, put them together and see if they fit, and be pretty confident with what you've done. But for a few days, you have to let them cure separately, because just because the object is ready to be demolded does not mean that it is ready to, that it's fully cured. And so you have to cure them apart from each other for a few days, because they will cure together and you will never, ever, ever get them apart. So you will see at the end of this that this mold fits. It didn't fit. The original mold I didn't fit. This one fits. I was very excited. And then a few days later, it didn't fit. So I'm showing this because it ended up being an absolutely beautiful project, but I do not recommend this mold, and I've purchased it from 2 different vendors. So there's that. So I think I'm just taking an extra little look, making sure I got everything in those ridges and folds that will make the top rim of the jar, and getting ready to move on to the lid. And luckily there's like a support on the inside that I was able to pull it, pull the mold into its shape. When you get ready to turn the mold right side out, sometimes I do it like with a paper towel or gloves on or something. And you can see this has it has a little piece I was able to grab onto, because sometimes your fingers, because your hands are naturally oily, and they can rub some of it off, and then you have to try and look on the inside and see if you've rubbed off some of the mica powder, because when you pour it, you will certainly notice that you've rubbed some of it off. So this stuff, luckily, was not very transferable with my fingers, but I tried to go back and just squish it around where I had touched, just to be 100% sure. And if you do that, you'll be fine. As long as that silicone is covered, it will be absolutely fine. So I was able to do this with a brush. Lots of people do it with, this is actually a brush that came with, I think, some of my chameleon powders. And I usually use these brushes. They work really well for me. Some people like to use makeup sponges, the kind that you put eyeshadow and things on with. Now, since this already had a little bit of a pore in the top of it that was already cured, I couldn't turn this inside out. For anybody who's a beginner, when you're going to try to do a double pour in something, this was cured within an inch of its life. It was very, very, very solid. But had I tried to turn this inside out, I might have broken the seal on the resin that's already in there, the seal between that and the silicone mold, which would mean that when I went to do that second pour that's coming up, it probably would, and it had the potential, and probably would seep under what I already have in there. So it's not like this particular mold, it's not like it's fragile. It's a pretty solid silicone that I'm handling. And because I did a totally flat, thing on that bottom part, it's pretty solid. But I just would not have wanted to try and turn it inside out, because for sure I probably would have broken the seal. And then you have to start from the beginning, and That would be a shame. So we are working on every square inch of this lid, and you'll see in a minute I actually went ahead and brushed it over top of this glitter. Initially I wasn't going to do that. My other jar, I believe I did maybe flakes. I think I did the iridescent flakes on the top with just clear. This time, I don't know, I just felt like brushing this stuff on behind the butterfly that's on the top. And that's what I did. So going forward, you will see lots of butterflies on my channel. I can't seem to resist them. Thus the name House of Papillons. Don't know if any of you know this, or those of you who do, but papillon is the French word for butterfly. So that's House of Papillons. Just a side note, my house, my dogs are papillons. I don't know if you know the breed, but one of them has ears that stick up, and that's where they got their name, the breed. But I have 2 papillon dogs, and one of them has floppy ears. That's a whole nother story, but one of them has floppy ears, one of them has the ears that stick up, and so that's where I got the name for my channel, because I live in a house of papillons. So butterflies are very dear to me as well, and that's why I can't resist them. It's the colors. It's just, you know, it's the colors and their just daintiness, and I just love them. So fortunately, in resin art, there are lots and lots of butterfly designs. So, yeah, that's the House of Papillons story. So, as you can see, the lid didn't take nearly as long as the rest of it, because it's smaller, obviously. And even though this is a little brush, I mean, this stuff, it spreads nicely. I've seen channels where people are literally sort of scrubbing it onto the mold. You really don't have to. It's not that difficult of a touch that you want to do. I am picking up very little on the brush at a time, because you know, you don't want to waste this powder. So I think if I were picking up more, I could probably spread it quicker, but I don't know. The technique I'm using works for me. Surely, you know, if you're doing this kind of project, you would do what works for you. You know, get a feel for it, and go for it. And there are plenty of mica powder, regular mica powders you can put on molds. You can do, there's now just myriad of chameleon powders. Many of them available on Amazon, at Michael's, you know, I mean, the market is pretty rich with a lot of these pigments now. So please let me know if you have any questions. And I mean, you know, it's sort of hard to advise people over the internet or on a comment section, but I'll try to give you any kinds of tips that I have that might, you know, help make your projects go a little more smoothly. Yes. So I'm just making sure I get up under that rim, because that will be the rim to the lid of the box. And I'm just making extra sure. I think I even cut some of this down. okay, they've seen enough of it. Oh, there's a piece of silk. That might have been, I think, resin from the last project I did. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the making of parts are a little bit long. But then I thought, but people, I think that's why people tune in, is to see the making of. So I don't want to jip you. And I apologize that some of these parts are a little bit off camera, but I'm now learning how hard it is to keep yourself in a certain area when you're concentrating on the project. But somehow we'll make it through. This is supposed to be fun, right? I do not sell my projects. I give them away as gifts. There you can see I decided to go ahead and paint the mica powder on top of the resin that's already in there. It works. There are some mica powders that don't adhere as well, but this did. So I just went for it. Plus it gives sort of a different look because there's clear behind that resin, and the rest of the box is going to be in sort of an aqua blue, so it helps, you know, to show a different dimension, different texture, that kind of thing. Okay, lady, wrap it up. Okay, I think next we're coming to where I mixed the resin. I'm using a pigment paste called Eye Candy, and the color is Tiffy Blue. And when you do pigment paste, even though you've used it before, you have to stir it thoroughly before you put it in your resin. And then you use, literally, I'll take the stick out and I won't even have, I'll literally scrape the stick off and then put it in my resin. Like, pigment is the most pure and concentrated pigment that you can use. So you see me do that. Unfortunately, I don't have the pour video. I apologize. I was irresponsible about that. But I do have the demold. And this demold, what a monster. Good grief. It was, I don't know why. This thing was sealed in there like, I don't know, like it was secrets of the universe. I don't know. It was very, very, very hard to get out of here. There is a point that I cut some of it out because I was like, you know, okay, how long does anybody want to watch this? Some of it was quite difficult. And because it's such an odd shape, it's just so weird to try to fold it down over the object, because once I try to get those wide wings, it was crazy. Like I said, I do eventually come to a part where I cut out some of it because I thought, good grief, who wants to watch all this? And I know when I watch videos, I'm like, do the other side, go to the other side. I know you're all shouting ways to make it better. But I'll tell you, even though you get it up over this side, it's whoa. It was really, really, really cured into this. Okay, finally. Finally. And getting it out of there was, pull as hard as you can. Even getting a grip on it was... Come on, lady, pull. Come on, there we go. Hooray. Oh, finally. And look at that sheen. Look at the sheen. It's amazing. It is stunning. Absolutely stunning. There we go. I focused it. Just beautiful. Those colors, it was the perfect color to use over top of that pigment paste. Just absolutely gorgeous. And now we're gonna get to Mr. Lid. I'm trying to remember if I eventually got a tool to get up under there, because this wasn't giving me a break. Do you all ever go through these kinds of issues? It's even harder when somebody's watching you. Like I said, I just have a feeling that people are watching this going, come on, get a hold of it already. You can do it. Oof. There we go. See, there was a ridge up under there that's what was, I think, holding everything in so tight. But, woo. This was a beast. I did cut some of that out, you could see. Come on now. Set the butterfly free. Whew. And you always want to turn your molds right side out, by the way. Just what I was doing. Look. Again, stunning. These colors just make my day. So, this is the moment of truth. Let's see if we can fit the lid on. And the lid fits on the bottom. The lid sort of doesn't fit on the top. So you will see, I take it and I put it down and I go, oh, okay. It's bendy. It's still bent. It's cured, but it's bendy. So I bend it and I get it together. There we go. And we made it fit. So I did, after I put it together like 3 times, I did take it apart to make it cure. Again, I just want to thank all of you for joining me today. Please like and subscribe if you have a second, and I hope to see you again.